What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to TTP Sports. And only, 2 days away at this point, not even a day and a half. It's felt like a little bit, this week kind of dragged a little bit, I would say. It definitely did, but we are only a few nights away from Super Bowl 57, Eagles, Chiefs. Jalen Hurts versus Patrick Mahomes, the new crowned MVP Patrick Mahomes. Eagles, the last time they went up against an MVP in the Super Bowl and Tom Brady, we all know the result of that game. But I'm not going to, harp on all that stuff and, everything like that and all the award nonsense from yesterday and the couple days before that. I'm not really going to talk about all that stuff. This is really just a final preview, final football Friday, basically, of the season, the final preview of a football game this season for the Philadelphia Eagles. And it happens to be for the Super Bowl, for a chance for this team to get the second Lombardi in franchise history. Like, it's a while that we're here, man. From the beginning of the season, honestly, I thought this team was definitely going to improve from what they were last year. They got off to a slow start. They battled their way to get into the playoffs. But we all knew in that wild card round against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Eagles didn't stand a chance last year. I thought they were going to improve. I definitely did. I thought Jalen Hurts was going to be better. I wasn't thinking to this extent. From the way that they played this season, Jalen Hurts putting up an MVP campaign. Sadly, he got injured at the end of it. He probably would have won MVP if he didn't get injured. But that's besides the point. Like I said, I'm not going to harp on all that stuff. That's not what this preview is about. We're going up, basically, it's the two best teams in the NFL going up against each other. Patrick Mahomes, the MVP, going up against the runner-up MVP, that is Jalen Hurts. And the Eagles still seems like they have to prove a lot of things to people because there's still a lot of guys that are doubting them. And this is the final time I'm going to talk about anything with 49ers. They're still complaining. They've been talking about it for the past couple of weeks. It is what it is at this point. They're crybabies. Kyle Shanahan breeding that atmosphere, breeding that culture of just absolute sore losers. It's, we're in this position right now. We won our games. Doesn't matter of an easy schedule. Doesn't matter anything like that. We steamrolled through the year. We steamrolled the Giants in the divisional round. Okay. 49ers had injuries. Okay. Eagles have no, you can't blame the Eagles for that. Okay. Brock Purdy got injured. It's Kyle Shanahan's fault for putting a backup tight end on Hassan Reddick. And sadly, Josh Johnson got injured. But Eagles, they can't control that. Now they're in the Super Bowl. They're going up against the Kansas City Chiefs team, who is banged up, but they are getting healthier. I saw their injury report. Majority of their players are going to be playing in the Super Bowl on Sunday. Patrick Mahomes, he still most likely is dealing with the high ankle sprain, but it's definitely not going to be as bad as it was in the NFC Championship game, and especially in the game against the Jaguars in the divisional round when he got that injury. It's definitely still probably going to be feeling it a little bit, but it's definitely not going to be a hindrance unless the Eagles make his life a living nightmare, which is definitely going to be really hard to do because it's Patrick Mahomes. He's one of the quarterbacks that takes the fewest sacks in the league. It's going to be a difficult task, but I firmly believe in this defensive front, Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, all those guys, to be absolute beasts and get, all this pressure on, Patrick Mahomes to try to make his life a living nightmare. That right side of the offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs, it's weak. So we're going to have to see what Andy Reid does to maybe play around that so Hassan Reddick doesn't, do what he has been doing basically since halfway through the regular season, and that's just getting sack after sack after sack after sack after sack, and helping, this team right now with 78 sacks combined with the regular season and the playoffs. It's no joke. 4 guys on your defensive line with 10 sacks. Like we keep forgetting about Javon Hargrave. He's got 10 plus sacks on the year, and he's barely even talked about. It's just, it's a weird, fascinating thing. All these guys right here on this defensive front that are just, finding ways to dominate. It's especially Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat. Those guys have just been absolute beasts the entire season. And I expect them to do the same stuff in the Super Bowl and making Patrick Mahomes at least trying to make his life a living nightmare. Because like I said, it's going to be a difficult task to do. It will be. Patrick Mahomes, he's still going to deal with that high ankle sprain, but he's going to, scramble out of the pocket, try to find ways to get the ball out of his hands quickly, whether he has to throw it to Travis Kelce, whether he has to try to find someone open, and especially when, as banged up as they are on the wide receiver point. I know Juju Smith-Schuster, he's banged up a little bit with the knee issues that he's been having, but I know he's going to play in the Super Bowl, but who knows if they're going to be force-feeding him the ball. But, they're dealing with a lot of injuries. And if you're going up against the Eagles secondary, it's basically pick your poison with the 4 guys back there. If you're looking at, a Gardner-Johnson, if you're looking at a James Bradbury who's having a career year and it's going to make a lot of money in the free agency market. If you're looking at, Darius Slate that's been here for a couple of years. Looking at Avonte Maddox. It's pick your poison. Even Marcus Epps is having himself a nice year. TJ Edwards as well. So it's basically a game of pick your poison. And I believe the Eagles, those guys, they will be up to the task of guarding those wideouts for the Kansas City Chiefs. The question is, how are you going to stop Travis Kelce? Is it going to be one of those situations where you just let him get his due and try to limit him to, where he doesn't make the gigantic plays, where he could probably get some plays made like 4 yards at a piece? Do you try to limit him to that and just, okay, let him get his due. We're just going to shut down everybody else. Even though the Kansas City Chiefs, it's kind of worked when, it's basically a Mahomes, Travis Kelce type show. When it's that, dynamic, I wouldn't say dynamic of an offense, but, it's that, one type of move offense to, where Pat Mahomes only has to give the ball to Travis Kelce and he just lets him do what he needs to do, the playmaker that he is, Kelce, and just run all over people. So we're going to have to see how Jonathan Gannon plays against that. But I think this defense is up to the task. I'm confident in Jonathan Gannon's abilities. The Kansas City wideout definitely isn't, what it used to be, especially when they lost Tyreek Hill. So I believe they're stoppable on that end. I do believe the Eagles have them beat on the wideout, especially with, our duos in Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. And I do expect A.J. Brown to have a much better game because, he's been quiet the past couple of games. The divisional round, we all know he was banged up a little bit against the Giants. Championship game against the 49ers. That was more of a run-heavy game from the Eagles, which I didn't expect it to happen. But I do expect with the young, banged up, and also inexperienced secondary of the 49ers, I expect A.J. Brown, I expect Devontae Smith, especially Dallas Goedert as well, to have big games. I think this game should be very, I would say maybe more pass favor, but who knows with this Eagles offense because they could basically beat you at any type of game. If they want, to pass the ball 20 billion times and go to your guys in A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Jalen Hurts having to throw dimes all over the field. I know last game in the NFC Championship game, he wasn't sharp. He definitely wasn't. I'll admit that there. But I think, with this couple of week rest, with the bye week going into the Super Bowl, I think that'll do him a lot of, much needed good. I expect Jalen Hurts to have a much better, throwing performance. He's going to have to. It's the last game of the season for a Lombardi. He's going to have to if he wants to outdo Pat Mahomes. But also this team, if it doesn't have to involve throwing dimes all over the place, some slot passes to A.J. Brown, maybe you involve the run game because they could beat you at that too. They proved that basically this entire playoff and this entire season. Miles Sanders' career year over 1,000 rushing yards. Jalen Hurts, the threat that he is with his legs, the dual threat ability that he is. Kenneth Gainwell, the breakout that he has basically been having this entire playoff. How fantastic he has been. Boston Scott, the secret weapon back there. Running game's dynamic. The passing game is dynamic. They can basically, like I said, beat you at anything on the offensive side. And it also does start with the offensive front as well. When you're looking at Jason Kelce, the best center in football, Lane Johnson, the best right tackle in football, but then you also mix that in with a Jordan Mailata, a Landon Dickerson. You mix that in there as well. And there's also a bunch of guys, like defensively and offensively, that it feels like you just never talk about. Like I said with, Javon Hargrave on the defensive side having 10 plus sacks. That's just like, it's weird that it feels like none of us talk about him for how fantastic he has been this year. Robert Quinn on the defensive side, it feels like he just doesn't play, but he's there. He can make noise happen, if he's on top of his game. There's a lot of, Just, man, there's so many things with this team that they can do, that they can beat you with. It's amazing. It does. And, like, you just can't give enough credit to that offensive front. Jeff Stoutland just got freshly extended new contract. Best offensive line in football. Honestly, could you say it's the best offensive line in the history of football with how fantastic these guys play? Like, it's unbelievable. Jason Kelce, Lane Johnson, Isaac Seumalo, who's also been here. Basically, Jason Kelce, Seumalo, Lane Johnson, been here since the 2017 run. Then you also add in some youth with Landon Dickerson. Then you also had a very, very nice pickup in Jordan Mailata from the late parts of the NFL draft. Offensive line, man, it's dynamic. You can even say the weaker spot off the offensive line is Jordan Mailata, and he's still a beast out there. Like, this offensive line just doesn't, especially Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson, they don't give up sacks. You could say for Jason Kelce, this is probably one of the best seasons of his entire career, especially at his age. What is he, like 35, 36 years old? And he is still the best center in football? Now for, the Chiefs, it's going to be hard because, Chris Jones on that side, he's been a beast this year too. The Chiefs, they're the team in the NFL with the second most sacks. I believe they have I believe it was around 50 to 55 sacks on the year. The Eagles had 70. It's still a wide margin. It definitely is. Like, 70 sacks is 70 sacks compared to 20 less than 50 to 55 at least. And the Eagles add so many more sacks throughout this playoffs to 78 basically. With the way Hassan Reddick have been playing, Josh Sweat, this entire defensive front, been absolutely dominant. And I expect more of the same, is even going up against the Chiefs offensive line, who's very solid in its own right. This is not the Chiefs' banged up offensive line when they played against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a couple of years ago. That offensive line was beaten. They were playing their backup guys. They were banged up. This is a rejuvenated offensive line. They're definitely good. But I still think this Eagles team can do damage, just because that's what they've been doing this entire year, and I expect no less. I am super confident in this Eagles team. I'm super confident in Jalen Hurts. I'm confident in this coaching staff, Nick Sirianni, Shane Steichen, Jonathan Gannon. And, a lot of us Eagles fans don't say that much about Jonathan Gannon. But with what this defense has been doing, especially through this past stretch, no reason not to be. No reason not to be. It's an amazing time for this team. Great chance. They're even though it's not that by wide of a margin for the favorite in the, Super Bowl, the Eagles are favored against Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes, according to the betting lines. I believe it's like a, -1.5 spread or something like that. I kind of want to double check that just to make sure how the spread is, because every time I check, it's usually like around the 1.5. So if I go to, like DraftKings or Barstool or anything like that and just see the spread for the game, I think the Eagles are still on the favorited side, especially, with the money line and everything like that. Yeah, the spread's still -1.5. Like, that's not that wide of a margin. Like, it basically still means it's like close to evenly matched as possible. But the Eagles are still the favorite in this game. So, I think that says something. Vegas favoring the Eagles, even though a lot of the national media doesn't favor the Eagles. I know I just saw your comment right there, Sean about Chris Sims and all that stuff. all the stuff about with Chris Sims and everything like that, how he just for some reason does not want to admit he is wrong about Jalen Hurts. I have no idea why this dude has like a wide hate for Jalen Hurts. I just don't understand why. He just constantly says that you can plug in any type of quarterback into this offense and it'll work. Can you remind me, Chris Sims, that how many games have we won this season when Gardner Minshew was under center? 0. We won 0 when Gardner Minshew was under center. We almost won the game at Dallas, yeah, but that was self-inflicted wounds. But then you get the game against the Saints where Gardner Minshew was probably the worst quarterback I've ever seen in my goddamn life. So, it's basically at this point, I feel it's probably obvious. All of these national media guys, they know how passionate the city of Philadelphia is about their teams, especially Eagles fans. They know if they say stuff like that, It's going to get them views. It's going to get them clicks. It's going to get people listening to hear out how outrageous these takes are. They know how to get under our skin. But hey, we're passionate. And if they do actually believe these asinine comments that they, spit out of their mouth, I can't wait for this team to completely shove all those words right up their ass, right up their keister, and prove them wrong in the Super Bowl. I feel like right now, the city has no reason to not be confident in this team. We are one of the best teams in the NFL for a reason. 14-3, best record in the NFC. Yeah, we're going up against the best team in the AFC, the Chiefs. Like I said, arguably the two best teams in the NFL meeting at this point. And it's funny, too, that even going back to the Super Bowl 52, Eagles-Patriots, I was curious that one night and just to think into myself, what was the last time two number one seeds met in the Super Bowl? It was the Eagles and the Patriots. Back in 2017. So it's been a little bit. But like I said, Eagles went up against an MVP winner in Tom Brady in that Super Bowl, beat them. And now they're going up against the Super Bowl winner in Pat Mahomes. And I'm very confident that this Eagles team can beat the Chiefs. The Eagles, I believe, overall, if you're looking at just overall roster construction, I think they're better than the Chiefs. The Chiefs has some standout, fantastic players. Pat Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. Travis Kelce, arguably, he's the best tight end in the NFL. They have some great guys on the defensive side, great guys on the offensive line, defensive line as well. Great, young running back in McKinnon. But I believe if you look at the Eagles as an overall unit, Jalen Hurts, not as good as Pat Mahomes, but he has proved himself to be one of the upper echelon of quarterback tiers in the NFL. This offensive line is the best in the NFL. This defensive front is the best in the NFL. The secondary is no joke either, with those four guys back there. James Bradbury, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Devontae Maddox, and Darius Slay. No joke. No joke. Even though I just mentioned the defensive front, you just can't not say their names. 78 sacks for a reason. Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, Javon Hargrave, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox. Dominant. The best defensive front in the NFL. Running game, too, they have so many options. Miles Sanders, Jalen Hurts, Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell. And that wide receiving duo of A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. And then you arguably throw in one of the most underrated tight ends in the NFL in Dallas Goedert. I think overall as a team, roster construction, Eagles are the better team than the Chiefs. No doubt. No doubt. Coaching, definitely give that to Kansas City. Andy Reid is a Hall of Fame coach, even though that doesn't mean he comes without his flaws. We all know from Andy Reid's time with the Eagles and just basically his entire career throughout the NFL. Clock management is not a strong suit, and sometimes he can make some mistakes and questionable coaching calls that make you think to yourself, what the hell was that? Basically, like a Kyle Shanahan, clock management is probably his worst asset. Or worst downfall, I would say. He's not good at it. Especially in big moments. So maybe those are those types of situations where maybe it comes back to backfire him a little bit there. Maybe he tries to get a little too cute with some of the play calling. We saw some of the stuff from the Chiefs this year. That ring around the rosy stuff they did. I believe it was against the Raiders. Did they try, even though they're not going to do that. But do they try to get, some of these fancy plays going? Maybe it's a trick play from Pat Mahomes that gets snuffed out by the Eagles defense. So there's question marks definitely there. Nick Sirianni, his first, on the big stage in the Super Bowl. Is the pressure going to get to him? No idea. But, this locker room, all these guys, they're connected. They love each other. They're a family. Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see it. I'm very confident in this team. And I think we all should be too. I just don't see really any other situation why we shouldn't be confident. I was the same way going into the NFC Championship game, the divisional round. Basically, watching this team the entire year, they give me no reason to not be confident in them. Because they've taken care of business every single week. They dominated every single week. They had some hiccups along the way. What team doesn't? But when the stars shine bright down on this team, they come up. Gotta see. Just gotta see. I know this will be the first game in this playoffs where they're facing a legit quarterback in Pat Mahomes. I still think he's going to be feeling that high ankle sprain, even though, regardless of what everyone else says, high ankle sprains don't heal easily. They linger on. And if, Hassan Reddick can go in there and cause some trouble, Josh Sweat as well, just this defensive front in general, if they can find a way to get to Pat Mahomes, maybe it bothers that ankle a little bit. Maybe he gets up a little gimpy. Maybe he second guesses himself on doing a certain thing. Maybe he wants to go one direction, he second guesses it because of the ankle, and tries to do something else, and that's where he gets caught right into an incoming train, which would be Hassan Reddick. It's a good time, man. Just fantastic time to be an Eagles fan. To be a Philadelphia fan in general, I would say. I've said this many times. Philadelphia Phillies, that entire run, unexpected. I feel like at this point, a lot of Philadelphia fans are still in that range of the underdog mentality because we got it with, that Eagles Super Bowl run a couple of years ago, with the Phillies run this year because it was so unexpected. Third wild card spot, get through the wild card round, steamroll the Braves, steamroll the Padres, and then you went up against the juggernaut in the Astros. You were the only team to beat them, but you weren't expected to win that World Series. But then you come into this season with the Eagles, start off 8-0, finish 14-3, number one seed in the NFC, best team in the NFL. I feel like Philadelphia fans aren't used to it. I don't think they're used to being. We're not used to being the favorite. We're not used to being the top dog, a team that's afraid of, or a team that everyone is afraid of. Let me rephrase that. Just that top team in the league that can go in every single year and be involved to win a championship. And right now, this year, and possibly the future, that's what this Eagles team is. With the way Howie Roseman has built all the futures, how young a lot of guys on this roster are. I know there's a lot of free agents, but we'll get there when we get there. Still got a game on Sunday. You worry about all that stuff after everything. If they win, you worry about all that stuff after the parade, after the celebration, and all of that. Don't have to worry about that right now. But this team is built for the long haul. Young Jalen Hurts, this offensive line, wide receiver duo, Dallas Goedert, this defensive front, everything. It's built for the long haul. And you're still keeping Jonathan Gannon. He's not going anywhere. It doesn't sound like Shane Steichen's going anywhere either, because of most likely Jeff Saturday is going to be getting that job back with the Colts. So you're basically keeping your entire coaching staff. Why not? Why not let this last a little longer? Like I said, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but that's basically how I'm expressing my confidence with this team. I've never been this confident in a Philadelphia team in my entire life. I know I was confident with the Phillies and the Astros, but I think deep down we all knew the Astros were the better team, and the Phillies just ran out of gas. But I'm thinking to myself, if I just look at this upcoming game on everything, look at these two teams side by side, I just look at both rosters side by side. The Eagles are just better. The Eagles are just better. And that's what I firmly believe. I think this team's going to do it. I think they're going to get the job done. It's definitely not going to be an easy game. It's not going to be a steamroll like the Giants were. It's not going to be, like what the 49ers game was. It's going to be a much closer game. I would say 1 or 2 score game. That could be 1 touchdown field goal, touchdowns. It could be either or. It's going to be close. I would say it favors more a one-score game than a two-score game. But you never know. You never know. But I'm confident in this team. I think they're going to get the job done. I believe in this defense. I believe in a lot of things. The number one passing defense going up against the number one passing offense. History showcases that the number one passing defense normally beats out the number one passing offense when it comes to these big games. We'll see if that history continues. It's going to be a fun time, man. It's going to be a fun time. And I can't wait for every second of it. Just can't wait. Got to get through tomorrow. Like I said, I still think that longest wait is going to be Sunday. It's just going to be when you wake up in the morning, you get your breakfast, you get your coffee, you prepare everything for, if people are coming over, you're going over someone's house or going to a bar or something like that to watch the game. I feel like just that anticipation on Sunday, right when you wake up, it's going to be the longest feeling of your life. Just getting there. Last week flew by, it kind of felt like. This week kind of drug a little bit. It definitely did. But still, I think the longest is yet to come with Sunday. Who knows? Maybe even tomorrow might feel the longest. But still, man. Still. I can't wait. I think this team is going to get the job done. That means second Lombardi in franchise history. That means a party on Broad Street. That means a parade. And everything like that. So yeah. We do have a voicemail here on the hotline. It's from Sean himself, who was in the chat. Let's see what Sean has to say about today's game. Make sure everything is on right here. And let's go.
All right, let's get right to it. My Super Bowl score prediction is Eagles 34, Chiefs 20. I respect, Reed being there, having 1-1, Mahomes being there, having 1-1, them being to multiple Super Bowls. But I go back to a quote that I heard Troy Aikman give on a broadcast a few years ago. I don't know if it's his or if someone else said it. But he said the NFL isn't as much about X's and O's as it is Jimmy's and Joe's. And I just think if you apply that quote to this game, the Eagles just have the deeper roster, in my opinion. I mean, I try to look at Eagle games objectively, but, you go up and down position by position. I think the Eagles have a lot of advantages in this game. I think this is another one of those trench warfare games where offensive and defensive lines, who can open holes for the running game, who can protect the quarterback, is going to rue the day here. And I think that's the Eagles, 34-20 over the Chiefs, in my opinion.
Whew. I like that, Sean. I like that. Quick, straight to the point. And you brought up a good point, the trenches. That's something I didn't bring up. If this game is involved, like you said, with, like it's been the past couple of weeks, the past couple of games, especially that game against the 49ers, that game was heavy in the trenches. If you're involved in the running game, like basically the Eagles have been one of the most dominant running teams this entire season. Do they have the most rushing touchdowns? That's probably a stat that I don't know on the top of my head, but I know they're definitely up there in the league. But if it comes down to that situation where both offensive, defensive lines have to battle it out through the entire night, Eagles win that without a doubt. This offensive line's the best in the NFL. Our defensive front's the best in the NFL. The Chiefs are no joke either, but the Eagles are just that much better in those areas, those specific areas. And if it comes down to a battle in the trenches, the Eagles are going to win that. Just because you have Jason Kelce, you have Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, Isaac Seumalo, Landon Dickerson. It's the best offensive line in the NFL, led by Jeff Stoutland. Then you get your defensive front. Hassan Reddick, Brandon Graham, Josh Sweat, Fletcher Cox. Just thinking about everything, man. Thinking about everything. I do see you guys in the live feed right here talking about watching a game on Sunday. I see from channel names saying, how are you going to be watching a game? I'm going to be home. I'm going to be in my house watching a game, most likely in my basement. I'm going to have a buddy over. My dad's probably going to watch it too. He probably wouldn't want to watch it, but he probably can't help himself. He did the same thing basically with the last Super Bowl. It's funny too. Every time you go to a Flyers game and sit next to my dad, every time they do the Eagles stuff and piping the Eagles up for the Super Bowl, you just see him over there. Well, next to me, he's just like head down, just like he hates it. He absolutely hates it. It's the best thing in the world. But yeah, I'll be home. I'll probably be recording some reactions during the game. And I do have something set up if they win. I definitely do. Because if they win, I do plan on going out celebrating on Broad Street with all the people. I'll clip some stuff with my phone, post some stuff to TikTok. I know my TikTok's been really slow. Basically laziness on my side with that. Just because I do all the other stuff for Hunter Brody and BrodesMedia for his TikTok. So I've been very slow with mine. But I'll have some TikToks up maybe later tonight or tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night, whenever I cut down this stream and everything. But yeah, be a fun time. I'm going to see you up a pole. I am not climbing a pole, man. I am not built for that. I'm a tall dude. I'm a big dude. I am not made for climbing. So I'm not made for climbing. If they win, are you going to the parade? Yes. Oh, no doubt. No doubt I'm going to the parade. I'm 2 minutes from Broad Street. My house, literally, you walk around the corner, you're on Broad Street. That's how close I am. And you walk a little, like 5 minutes that way, down that way. Like, you could see Citizens Bank Park from my deck. Like, that's how close I am to the sports complex. So, I'll be at the parade. I'll be at the celebration if they win on Sunday, or when they win on Sunday. Because I firmly believe that's what the team's going to do. If they don't, it is what it is. I'll be heartbroken, but I'm confident in this team. I'm confident that they're going to get the job done. It's an exciting time. It really is. I can't wait for it. I think we all can't wait for it. We have to wait a little bit longer, but we're almost there. We are almost there. And it's a wonderful time. Man. So, I think this is going to do it for this. Want to come? Are you going to be too drunk to do it? No, I won't be drunk at all. I'll be hype on energy. I'll be maybe drunk off the atmosphere. I'll be doing a post-game recap, Sean. You don't have to worry about that. I'll just be doing everything, when I get back from celebrating, if that's the case. I will definitely be doing a post-game recap. Don't worry about that after the game. It just depends on how long after the game, because we all know these games last forever. The game starts at 6:30 possibly, and then you gotta deal with all the commercials, the halftime show. Game's probably not gonna end maybe closer to 10:30, maybe 11. So then you deal with it. Don't worry, I'll have a recap up. Don't worry. It'll probably be one of those situations where it's a very late recap, if anyone even remembers, during the summer, those Phillies-Dodgers games that would end at 2 in the morning because they would go to the 50th inning. It'd probably be one of those situations. Hopefully not. Or actually, hopefully so, because that means they won. But we'll see. We'll see what happens when I get there. We'll see what happens when it gets there. But yeah, definitely. Can't wait for it. I cannot wait for it. It's going to be very fun. Man, going to be a good time. Hope everyone here enjoys their weekend. Who knows? Weird vibe. 2017 will never be surpassed. How euphoric will this one be? 17 will always be special to everyone just because it was the first one. It was the first Super Bowl win, franchise history. That one's always going to be special. If the Eagles win this one, I think this one will be better. Just because of how purely dominant this team was all year. Purely dominant. You were the best team in the NFL. You proved you were the best team in the NFL. 2017 was a magical ride. You lost your quarterback. You were the underdogs, even though you were the number 1 seed. You were down to your backup quarterback. And you just went on a magical journey. And you got the job done. But this team, they're built differently. You got your star quarterback in Jalen Hurts. Even though he's banged up in the shoulder, still completely good to go, and I expect him to be much better on Sunday. And everywhere else, this team is built better. Wide receiver, tight end, offensive line, defensive front, defense in general. I think they're built completely better. I think if they win, when they win on Sunday, I think it's going to feel better. It is. I just think that when you're that team that was good all year, dominant all year, and you win it, I think it feels better. The magical journey of 2017 was special. I feel like this is more special, just because of how special this team can be for the future. You win on Sunday, leads to something bigger. It leads something bigger. And when you win, you get to hear the 49ers cry even more. Because that's what we'll do. That's what they'll do. We all know it. If the Eagles win, all the 49ers are going to be saying, oh, the Chiefs were nothing special. The Chiefs were frauds. If we beat the Eagles, we should have beat the Eagles. We would have beat the Chiefs easily. That's what they'll do. It's what we'll only hear that entire time. But that'll only mean we have a Lombardi and they don't. Sorry. Not sorry. But I think this is where I'm going to end it off, everyone. Hopefully everyone here enjoys the rest of their nights and enjoys their weekend, Saturday, and all that stuff. Do we play them in I think in Philly. I think we played them in Philly. I know John Kincaid posted something like that. I'm not sure if it was a joke or anything, but I think we played them in Philly. Actually, let me look that up for you before I end it off. Eagles 2023 opponents, I guess. Who will be the home games? Home games. If I can. Here we go. Home for next year, 2023. Yep. They play the 49ers at home. They played them at home. So, imagine that's the first game of the year. Imagine if that's like the opening game. Eagles 49ers. Honestly, if the Eagles win Sunday, that's what they're going to do. With all the crap the 49ers have been spewing, that's going to be the first game of the year. 49ers Eagles. But yeah, that'll be then. This is now. We got a Super Bowl on Sunday, everyone. Eagles Chiefs. Prediction for score. I think it's gonna be a 1-2 score game. I'm thinking it's a tough one. I'll say 35-27. 35-27, 35-20, if it's even possible to get that score. I'll say that, 35-27. I think that's the score for the game. So, enjoy your weekend, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your night. Have fun, Super Bowl Sunday. Go Birds, everyone. And hopefully the next time we talk, it's with a Lombardi. So, see you later, everyone. Also, do not forget to leave a comment in the comment section below. Do not forget to drop a like on the video. Do not forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to check out everything in the description down below. And also, don't forget to use the code TTPSPORTS at SEATGEEK. $20 off your first purchase. It's a great deal. Don't pass it up. Thank you once again for joining tonight's stream, everybody. I'll talk to you next time, which will be Sunday. But for now, go Birds.